see you all. Thanks everyone for coming and contributing to this nice, cool atmosphere here. Good to see you. And my name is Igor Jovanovic. I am FX Supervisor in Framestore, and I'm going to share with you some of the work that we have done on Paddington in Peru. It's been a wonderful project. Everyone loves Paddington. It's like a charming little bear, and we had to do everything that we could to kind of put him in the right environment. Most of our work involved water, and it was river rapids, notably, and there was just a few shots about integration with the environment, and that being the fern field. But that took quite a bit of time as well. We had so much other effects that has been done, but today I'll be focusing on the water. So the key component of our work was to be as flexible as possible and to be able to adapt to whether that's going to be the feedback from the supervisor, from the client, and just for a variety of reasons. We have to make our setups and create our methodology to be able to accommodate for all those changes at the time. One of the things that we usually have been doing, because there's a lot of complex simulations, and one part of the simulation, as you will see later on, would get approved, but then there would be subtle changes in a different part of the incoming asset, whether that's going to be the boat flowing down the river, whether that's going to be the character or something. So we had to create one baseline simulation, and if further changes were needed to be done in a certain parts of the shot, we would layer another one on top, but I'll get to that later on. I'm going to play you a little show and tell reel just to see a little bit behind the scenes, what has been done on a couple of shots, and then I'm going to go into the shots and we'll talk more about that. All right?
You can take the bear out of the jungle, but you can't take the jungle out of the bear.
Well, we wanted a holiday to remember.
We find Roomy Rock ourselves. Quite the opposite, Mr. Brown. Can't you see? If I could stay. With you. If I could come back home.
All right. Well, that's a little show and tell. I mean, you could see a little bit of the snippets of what we're going to be talking about, a couple of breakdowns that I'm going to try to exemplify in this talk. And we'll talk about the challenges, what we were facing, and techniques. It's less about the techniques and more about the methodology, how we approach that. For example, maybe let me play this. Oh. There we go. So this is one of the shots that you probably saw in the show and tell. It's an interesting one. So the plate was chosen. There were like a lot of plates that was shot on the set. I think it was in Colombia, and this one was chosen as a good one to tell the story. And everything was fine. There was only one problem, that it was going in reverse of what the story was asking for. So that's a confluence of tributary of the two rivers, and the water is going from left to right initially. Given that this plate was chosen, we had to deal with it, and what they have done initially, they reversed the plate, then the reversed plate got tracked, and then it was handed over to us. And first to environment artists, that they would add all the stuff on the sides, the banks of the river and everything, the forest, and then we take over what they gave us, the riverbed and everything, and we plug that into our setup, and we expect everything to work fine as it should, but it never does. Yeah. One thing that we all forgot, mostly me, is that when the rivers are flowing, I'm not a geologist, but they tend to like shape the riverbed a little bit. So you end up like a little cascades from the direction where it flows. And initially, a couple of our first simulations, it would just like whatever we would do, like water would be just bulging up. And then we figured out like the riverbed as we were using it, it just wasn't built for the right direction of the flow. So we had to sculpt the riverbed. We had to like adjust it to what we needed. And that comes in play, like whether we kick that back to environment or contain it in our department. I'm more thinking that we should own that, because at the end of the day, we are getting the feedback about how the river should be behaving from the supervisors, from the director. So we have to deal with the things that influence that. And the shape of the riverbed, that is causing all the eddies and the swirls, and that is giving that impression of how the water is flowing. So that was that challenge on this shot. It turned out pretty nice at the end. We had like 2 simulations. In this one, you will see like that this is first like one of the first tests that we have done. It's a little bit of like brute forcing it, like simulating everything. At the end, we didn't do that, of course. We split this up, and there was like a separate flat tank area just around the boat, and then we merged that in the comp, but we kept the one that is further down the river. And yeah, this is one of the top-down views. As you can see, like all the white water and usual stuff that you see in all the Houdini tutorials or examples. Yeah, right. So this was a kind of similar problem. The only difference is that this is on this one we had to just augment the existing plate, and it was again like we expected to be all good and everything, and now we're flowing into the right direction. The river is going where we need it to be. We get the environment, the riverbed, the geometry all seems fine, but then what happens? We do that, and the director comes, well, it has to flow to the right, not to the left. So here we go again. Then we have to like change a little bit underlying geometry, but that didn't seem to do enough things. And so what we ended up on this one also was to add some curves, to add like velocity forces to push the flow of the simulation in the right direction. This is an example from that. This is the raw render of the area that we have done. I mean, when I say we, I mean Florian. He was one of our key lead water artists on this show, and he did a really, really tremendous job on it. And here you can see an example, just like how those additional velocity forces, when they're put in place, how they kind of push the river where we want it to be. But yeah, I mean, again, on this one, it was all good, but it was just bulging. The water would always bulge to the left, because that's where the natural flow of the river was on the plate, therefore, from the tracking environment and back to us. And this shot. This is another one of Florian's masterpieces. I have to say, like, really, really, it's the first shot that we started, and we were quite pleased how it kind of turned out at the end. It had a different problem. We replaced the whole river here. But the speed of the boat was very, very fast. It was 25 knots. It's not unheard of for these boats to move that speed, but not in the calm rivers such as this. When you have that speed of the boat, it looks more like a Thames, like the speed boat on a Thames water. In which case they would usually lift their bow and just like skim on the surface of the river. However, the requirement on this one was to retain that speed for a variety of reasons, but we still had to mimic the look and the behavior of the water as it was in one of the references, which was a some boat that was moving on the surface of the sea much, much slower. So for this shot, what Florian has done, he did like a flat tank approach. We tried with a full river setup. It looked really good, but it was just like too violent, and like iterating through the full river setup was just taking a little bit longer than what we could have at that time. So we opted for a flat tank for a baseline simulation, and then we built on top, and that's what I mentioned in the beginning, like layering of the simulations. So we built on top more and more to get the right look in the areas that is actually selling the shot. You can see this is just like a occlusion render of that same thing. So the basic surface that you see around the boat, that is in the final render, that is just the displacement of the surface. And everything that is merged with the flip simulation just around the boat, well, not just around the boat, it was like spreading all the way until both sides of the banks. And then it was merged prior to exporting. The wake that the boat was making in the flat tank simulation, it was looking pretty good. So we retained that and the white water and everything. But everything that you see in the front of the ship, at the bow of the boat, is mostly like like second or third simulation that we added on top. We used the baseline simulation, the flip simulation, flat tank set from the flat tank, and Florian used like the vorticity, velocity, various parameters to emit like pop sim that would then be. He did like a bit of processing, like whether based on density and usual stuff that you can do within Houdini. You can just use all that data in whichever way you want. That's what makes it so good, and then we meshed that because it was good when it's far, but as it's getting closer to the camera, we really wanted to feel that dropletty look of those droplets in front of the ship. And yeah, that's like that second simulation or third that was added on top of everything that was there. So yeah, that was the approach on this shot. Then, we have this one as well. Similar thing. You can see like the simulation on the left side, obviously, being grayscale. So on this one, we had a really good simulation at some point, and we put this a little bit on hold. Then when we had to revisit it, we figured out that like once rendered and everything, the stuff on the left side, just between the boat and those rocks, was just not holding up. It's quite a large area that we were simulating, even if the boat is, yes, I know, covering half of the shot. And we didn't exactly want to lose that. So we kept that as the base simulation, which one of our artists, Sopon, he took it over and used that as a collider on which let me put it like, play this one. I think it's more explanatory. I mean, you can see you can see a lot of popping on the right side and everything, but as I said, that's hidden by the boat, so we don't care about it. And you can see a little bit of a difference in the resolution of the mesh on the right side and what you see on the left side. That is that second simulation that is layered on top of this one. The emission point was hidden under the camera, so you don't see that as it's flowing in there, but we use just the surface of that low-res simulation as a collider, and at the end, it just gave us the result that we wanted at the time. Yeah, it's a little breakdown of the whole thing. Right, and okay, yeah, this shot required all of those things combined. Sam was one of our another key water TD on this show. He did tremendous job as well. Really put a lot of love and effort in all of his shots, and coming up with all kind of solutions to all kind of problems. But it is basically all coming to the same thing. Try to do like the base simulation low res as you can. Then once you got the motion and the behavior that you like, you can use that and build on top of that and add the details where you need them. I do know that he got like the one first simulation and it was looking pretty good and everything, and then he smoothed it out like velocities, not to avoid having any kind of spikes and like unwanted behavior, and then added on top of that, use that as a guide simulation. That's another technique in Houdini. I mean, Houdini has so many techniques for doing water. You just like, we're spoiled for choice, to be honest, and it just works for us. So yeah, and then I think he added like one more simulation just where it hits the rock as a third one, just to have those fine details where the water is hitting and breaking up and dispersing. So yeah, there's a lot of different simulations in there. And they don't necessarily, should I say, influence each other. As long as they look good, that's fine. You know, it works. I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell which one is which, to be honest. And I was involved in it. And a similar kind goes for like these things. For example, we had this stuff on the side of the boat, these buoys and the ladders, and we wanted them to move and be influenced by the water. So yes, Houdini allows you to simulate everything together, but in cases such as this, I highly doubt that the objects hanging on the side of the boat, like they're so light, that would influence the water in any way. So we just use the water as an influence object to this geometry, and that worked. So that's like one way of like choosing which direction you want to drive your simulations. And yes, at the end we had another pass on this one. Wherever those objects they hit the water, we added spray particles just to kind of integrate them together. So it kind of gives a sensation like it's breaking up like smaller, finer peaks of the water as it's rising up. Yeah, this is another one from Sam. This was a case where he used optical flow. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the technique, but basically it's processing the 2D image, getting the vectors from that, and then applying that in your 3D scene on whichever way you want it. And it really helped in this case to merge the simulation, the render, with the plate, because like wherever you would see the white water, it would feel like it's actually like it's really there with the plate, because it was picking up those like white water velocities from the image. There's like much more into it. I'm not like, I want to go into details, but yeah, it was a rather successful one. And I must skip this one. It's not a nice here. And yeah, very similar thing on this shot. Sam did again. Yeah, I know so many shots on his plate. Similar thing. Sam did a low resolution simulation, but there was a point in this shot where you see like it goes over the bulge, and that bulge we had to recreate it. So we could have done it in different ways, but the most efficient way was like to just kind of deform the baseline, like I'm keep saying baseline, but low res simulation, and then run high res simulation on top of that, using it either as a guide simulation or whichever technique you would choose to go for. Again, on this one, all the stuff, not all the stuff, but a lot of stuff that you see flowing over the log, those are like, I think like 3 or 4 more simulations. I remember when we were populating the instance, there were like so many of them. But that was all added on top of this one. It's not all done in one. It would just like increase the iteration time. And when you get to the point where you have to deliver the shot, you keep the good parts, try to keep the good parts, and add on top of it whatever you can to enhance and hit the notes and the look that is desired. So yeah, I think this is that low res simulation that was deformed and then used for the high res second one. And then, what really helped, I think this is the aeration path. It really helps when you're doing these rivers to give it a murky, churned up look. So wherever we had some, it depends on the vorticity, and we were kind of enhancing it a little bit more, exaggerating a little bit more, just to increase and sell the idea of the danger and how fast it's moving. And then we would pass this as a prim bar to lighting team, and they would do their magic. We had a really good lighting team on this show. I mean, all the departments were like really, really awesome animation. They did stellar job. Yeah, a couple of these shots, we had 2 of them. And on this one, we opted for like to simulate in the world origin, and then we moved the container. We had to like go through a little bit of like compensation of the velocity, putting it back, because as always, there is like a problem with the motion blur. It has to be correct and accurate. But it worked at the end. And this was actually 2 shots that we merged into one. I mean, this is one shot, but there were like 2 different setups, like from on the top of above the river and under the river. Yeah, a little bit of underwater bubbles, favorites. Cool. Right, so it's a little bit about the rivers. I'm going to just jump a little bit, talk about what we also have done, and that's the... Sorry. Bang. Yeah. So we had quite an extensive collaboration with the environment department as well, and a little bit with modeling, where we helped them to either remodel the fern or just to populate and create a fern plant. Just modeling that would take ages. So it was really down to us to kind of come into play and try to do something. And because these ferns, are very, very detailed. I can tell you that much. You will see in the last shot that I'm going to present. It's insane. I don't think in Framestore we'll ever have to model another fern ever again. It's that detailed. And so you can see a little bit, this was a crazy rig. Vellum absolutely for the win here, and just works so nicely with so many curves, like a charm. What you're seeing that there's just like a guide curves that will like later on, of course, driving the rest of the ferns. So all the ferns that you see in this shot, it's all CG. Like every single one of them. And these little leaves, it's called piñas. I learned that on this show. At some point, it was double-sided. So yeah, of course it didn't work at the end because it was just like too much memory consumption in rendering. So you have to pick your battles. And yeah, this is one of the first shots that we were doing, like first test for these ferns. I think this is one of mine, actually. I remember we were doing this around the time of Easter, and pro tip, when you have a character, give it a chocolate color, and the production would all think, oh, so cute Paddington, and increases your chances of approval. I'm telling you that. They loved it just because it's that chocolate color. And this is like one of the first tests, and you will see like how far we got at the end. We had like another guy, like really smart guy from our department, Ben. He did his setup like, have no idea, like it's like so everything is coded, but at the end it just like, you will see the level of details that you can get in the behavior, every little leaf, and it all reacts with the fur and everything. And as a final shot, just looks really, really beautiful. So yeah, I'm here standing in front of you talking, but these are the real heroes of this project, like by each name and everyone. It's like they really put their heart and soul in this show, led by our really amazing department manager Valeria and our head of department Mark. And big shout to our full CG like supervision team, Alexi, Silvan, Lori, and Pablo, animation supervisor. Like, yeah, animation is just like stellar on this project. I remember seeing the movie with a friend, and they were going like, oh, so cute, such a nice animation, look at his nostrils. It's all about animation, like of Paddington, because it's a cute and charming character. And I'm going like, yeah, what about the water? And they're like, and they're like, what water? I'm like, I'll take that as a compliment. So yeah, these are the real stars, and just like big shout out to each one of them. Like they're super, super cool people. Great team in London. And yeah, one more reel for the end.
Oh, Lucy! Oh, hello! Emergency.
Oh, Paddington.
Aunt Lucy.
Thank you very much.